what you know about purification to save the heart of a nation. Let burn a talking wood, bringing light to a talking wood. Natural law, just wisdom and love, vision, truth below as a bird. Let burn a talking wood, let burn a talking wood.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Affirm Life Daily podcast. I'm Cynthia Mitchell, your host. As always, please visit the website affirmlifedaily.com for more information. There's resources, videos, lists of books, lists of podcasts, just tons of great resources. There's affirmations. So check it out. Please follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Please subscribe and like as well. Your support means I can help spread this message to more people. So I really appreciate you sharing the information and visiting the website and subscribing to the newsletter. So anyway, today is Natural Law Presentation 9. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to talk about lying and stealing and how that violates others' rights and how it violates natural law. So I know that may seem like a super obvious topic, but when you really dive deep, you can kind of uncover some things that a lot of us really kind of overlook, I think, to make our lives maybe a little easier or a little more palpable. But we're going to talk about what is a right, what constitutes lying and stealing, why is it wrong, and how does lying and stealing violate natural law? Are there any exceptions to this rule? And how do we protect our rights? Oops, sorry, that's my fault. Here we go. So this is, like I said, presentation number 9. These are the 15 aspects of natural law that I'm covering in this series through the podcast. So number 9 is do not lie to yourself or others. Lying to others is stealing their ability to discern the truth and never steal anything from another, including property, physical well-being, and or sexual contact. So we'll start off with the basics. And yes, I have talked about this a lot in my podcast, but I just wanted to do like a little quick refresher just in case this may be the first episode someone is watching. So what is a right? Your rights include everything that does not cause harm to another or steal from another. So all rights boil down at base to property rights because your property includes your physical property, your physical well-being, any sexual contact, and most importantly, your right to exert your free will based on truth. Your rights are God-given, and they absolutely 100% have nothing to do with government or man-made laws. Your rights are your birthright. So the universe is governed by certain natural laws and principles. These principles are immutable and unchangeable laws of the universe. There's absolutely no way around them. So we can deny it, we can kick and scream, we can curse, we can fight each other, fight ourselves. It's futile. It doesn't matter. Trying to move away from natural law or denying it leads to suffering. Inevitably, it will always take us to suffering, take us to disharmony, take us further down the path towards darkness. So when we really are ready to embrace our rights and stand on them, and understand natural law principles, that's when the suffering as a collective will start to end. So what is lying? Lying is willfully misleading or misstating information to another. It is the absence of truth. It is speaking falsehoods with the intention to deceive. So it's not really like if you really think it's still not being truthful because you didn't know the truth, but that's different than when people are intentionally trying to deceive you, when they're just mistaken, maybe they were remembering something wrong. That's not exactly what I'm talking about here because this is more with the intention to deceive. Lying to someone about anything that affects their ability to discern the truth is also a violation of rights. So for example, if Big Pharma tells you this medicine is safe and effective, I think we've all heard that term a lot. Safe and effective. And they know for sure, based on their own testing and their own information, that it's not, that is a violation of your rights. Because how can you make an informed decision when you're not presented with the truth? So that's why lying is a violation of your rights. So when you lie to yourself, that it's not necessarily, you're not harming another, but it will lead you to harming another. Because when you are continually lying to yourself, for one, you're going to start buying and believing those lies and spreading those lies. So you end up not helping but be able to lie to others, because now you've conditioned yourself with lying, because it started with you lying to yourself about things. So the more you lie to yourself and others, you continually degrade your ability to even discern truth. So when you become a liar, even when truth is presented to you, you have a much more difficult time discerning it, because you are so accustomed to lies, to deception, to being deceptive and being deceived. So you start believing your own lies, and it's much more easy to accept the lies of others as truth, the more you become comfortable with lies and lying. So it's kind of almost like, has almost a contagion or viral type of effect. So lies may leave you at peace with others, but you will always be at war with yourself. So yeah, sometimes you tell somebody a lie because you just want to make them feel good. You don't want to deal with, maybe the truth would upset them. Maybe the truth would cause them to not even want to deal with you anymore. Whatever the case may be. You may use the reasoning in your mind. Well, I want to make this a peaceful experience or not a bad experience for them, but that's still going to leave you at war within, because lies destroy peace and harmony within and without, both. So because it goes directly against natural law. So you always are going to have those karmic effects when you go against natural law. So knowing the truth directly affects your ability to make sound decisions and protect your well-being. So the truth is important. Even if it hurts, that's okay, because it's going to allow you to make sound decisions and protect yourself much better. How can you do that if you don't even know what's true, if you're just being fed a lie? So lying compromises your integrity and violates the other person's rights, because you're stealing this ability from them to make that sound decision for themselves, to protect their well-being. So it has a big impact. And a lot of times I think because it's so accepted culturally to lie a lot, we don't really think about it all the time, about the real consequences of lying. So what is stealing? Stealing is taking property from another without their permission and or knowledge. Stealing is also a violation of another's God-given rights and property rights. Again, these have nothing to do with the lawmakers in Congress or your local officials, whatever, they come up with. These are not the type of rights or property rights I'm talking about. I'm talking about the property rights that are part of natural law that govern the universe. These are the unchangeable laws that govern the entire universe that we are in. So property rights include physical objects or things, your physical body and bodily autonomy. So that includes your safety and privacy, sexual contact or activity, and again, your ability to know the truth and make informed free will decisions. That is crucial, because when someone takes that truth away from you, now your free will decision is based on a lie. It's based on something that's not based in reality. So it's not going to be the decision that's going to be best for you. So all wrongs are based in stealing. There is only one sin, only one, and that is theft. Every other sin is just a variation of theft. When you kill a man, you steal a life. When you steal his wife's right to a husband, rob his children of a father. When you tell a lie, you steal someone's right to the truth. When you cheat, you steal the right to fairness. I really love that quote. It just really sums it up, because you can think, well, no, there's tons of other sins or bad things you can do, but they're all forms of theft. They really are. If you really break it down and look at the root problem with that behavior, it is a form of theft. So we have to stop justifying stealing on an individual basis and as a collective, because a lot of times, with us, with people, we have a bias towards, well, if a lot of people are doing it, then it's okay. It can't be that bad if everyone's doing it. So stealing is stealing. I don't care if it's on the internet or you're breaking into a warehouse somewhere. It's theft. So that was just a quick to the point quote. And whether we are stealing resources from another country, like I said, that large scale theft, or stealing money from grandma's purse, stealing is stealing is stealing. So what are common justifications we give for stealing? Because, obviously there's probably no shortage of excuses of things we can come up with to make us feel better about stealing. So here's just a few that I thought of. I needed what I stole to survive. It was just a little lie and not a big deal. I will make up for it later when I can afford to. I'm not really hurting anyone because they have more than they need. And that's, of course, your personal judgment that they have more than they need. But no, they have more than they need, so I'm just going to steal from them. They deserved it because they're not a good person. Or the famous one, it's for the greater good. And that really ties into this Bob Dylan quote, that greater good, because that is used constantly to justify so many large-scale atrocities and immoral behavior, the greater good. So this quote is, steal a little and they throw you in jail. Steal a lot and they make you king. That's a powerful quote, because if I run down the street to Walmart and steal something and get caught, they'll probably lock me up for that, especially if it's an expensive enough item. But if I put my military forces into action, because I'm a leader of some country that, dominates over others, and I steal all their natural resources, that's probably going to get me reelected. So you steal a lot, it makes you a king. So that's a very powerful quote. And like I said, that greater good mentality, that greater good excuse, it's used all too often as a kind of all covering, all encompassing excuse to justify things that are inexcusable. So commonplace stealing that most of us just accept, and that is taxation that is not 100% voluntary. It is absolute extortion and stealing if it's not 100% voluntary. Military occupations to steal resources from other countries, which I kind of touched on a little bit in the last slide. Misleading consumers and false advertising. That could be from anything from, prescriptions to retail products, whatever. If they're claiming certain things that are false just to get you to buy, that's stealing from you. Because now I can't decide if this is really a good product or really even a product I need, because all of the advertising was full of falsehoods. Of course, propaganda in any form for any reason. Again, stealing that ability to discern the truth, using your free will to make a sound decision. And propaganda, a lot of people still don't realize this. It is legal in this country. So if you're popping on, mainstream media and thinking that you're hearing, oh, this has got to be the truth, they would never tell me a lie. Propaganda is legal. And you can check that and you can look that up. It is absolutely legal. So they absolutely can lie to you with no legal ramifications for it. Police and government seizures. I mean, there's so many cases where there's not even, these are people that haven't even been convicted of anything yet, and they're taking all of their possessions. Colonization of indigenous peoples in other countries. This robs people of so much. Their resources, their land, their culture, their language, their history. This is theft at its one of its grandest scales, really. And so just because the majority accepts and condones something, that does not make that something okay. Stealing is stealing, even if everyone is doing it. So this is from Mark Passio, this graphic that I'm going to go over really quickly. And again, as always, go to whatonearthishappening.com. Check out his videos, check out his podcast. If you listen to podcasts, start at episode 1. It is well worth your time. This man is a wealth of knowledge and can really help educate you in the occult, so much hidden knowledge, and natural law. But anyway, okay. So the graphic, it all comes down to right versus wrong. So a right is correct behavior, moral, and it's based in truth. It creates harmony with nature, and it works in harmony with natural law. So the actions are not, they don't result in harm to other beings. Whereas with a wrong, that is not based in truth, that is based in falsehood. So it's going to lead to incorrect and immoral action that is in disharmony or in opposition to natural law. So actions based in it result in harm to sentient beings just for the simple fact alone that is in opposition to nature itself. So we all have to begin to examine our actions and the actions of others with much greater scrutiny to determine if we are indeed stealing and violating another's rights, especially when it isn't a more obvious or overt form of theft. Sometimes, like even some of the examples I've mentioned, it may be like, oh, well, yeah, I guess if you think about it, that is stealing. So we really have to be much more aware and scrutinize our own actions, especially before we go to attack others, to make sure that we're, basing our standard of living and the things that we're speaking on right action versus wrong action, on being moral versus being immoral, on telling truth versus a lie. So is causing harm ever okay? Absolutely. Yes, defending yourself. You have a right to defend yourself and your property. Using force, now notice I'm not saying violence, using force against another is an act of self-defense, is your God-given right. Some would even say it's a duty, I would, and an act of self-love, I would. So you do absolutely have a right to defend yourself. So what is the difference between force and violence? I'll give an example before I read this. This is another graphic courtesy of Mark Passio. But somebody brings it to me, comes to my door with the intentions of harming me, harming my kids in any way. You brought violence to me. So I absolutely have every right in the world to use force to get you away from me, to get you away from my home, so that I feel safe, so that my kids are safe. I absolutely can use force to do that. So force is the capacity to do work or cause physical change, energy, strength, or active power. And this is an action that is in harmony with morality and natural law. It does not violate another's rights because they came to me in violence, which did violate my rights. So the person that came with the violence, that's coercive action, which is in opposition to morality and in opposition to natural law. So in any case like that, you absolutely can use force, and that is not a violation of natural law. I like both of these quotes so much. Self-defense is not an act of violence. So first is a Malcolm X quote. I don't even call it violence when it's in self-defense. I call it intelligence. And so do I. I think that's short and sweet and to the point. That's just intelligent action. If you value yourself, you would automatically, I would think, defend yourself. The second quote is by William Barclay. Self-defense is a part of the law of nature, nor can it be denied the community, even against the king himself. So you have the right to defend yourself against individuals, groups, governments, or any other person or entity who is threatening or causing you physical harm. So any entity, person, or group that is bringing violence, you have a right absolutely to defend yourself. So in general, how do we protect our rights? Your rights are God-given and not man-made. Protecting your rights starts with understanding them. So you have a right to do anything that does not cause harm or steals from another. This right is inherent to the universe. It is natural law. Wherever there is a human being, I see God-given rights inherent in that being. Quote by William Lloyd Garrison. So that is very important to remember and for people to know what your rights are. You literally have a right to do anything that does not cause harm to another sentient being. You literally have the right to do anything outside of that. So someone sitting on some high horse doling out rights to you because they've taken a false position of authority over you does not make that okay, does not even make it true, does not make it correct, does not make it in harmony with natural law. It doesn't make it anything but an illusion, because they couldn't even sit in that position unless we fed that illusion. Unless we said, okay, well, I'm going to go along with this illusion with you. They couldn't even do it. There's far too many people that are being ruled over by such a small number. So it would just really take us saying, you know what? I'm going to stand in my rights. So no freedom is secure if your property rights are not secure. And we talked about why that is already, because all rights boil down to property rights. And you cannot have freedom if your property rights are not secure. So we have to stand firm in our rights and stop begging for what's ours. So never ask permission to be free, because you're born free. So protecting our rights, it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage, because the world don't love no truth tellers. Not really, not very much. You got a small minority of people who embrace it, but most run away from it. They don't really like it. And it can cost you, it can cause people to come after you. You tell too much truth, you get, too much of an influence over others, telling the truth. So it does take courage. It takes courage because you may be outcasted by your friends and family. They may not, they're just on these conspiracies or just whatever. It doesn't matter. So we have to find that courage within us to protect our rights and to stand on truth. So here's some things that we can do to protect our rights. And at the end, if anyone has more suggestions to add to this list, please let me know, because, this is the kind of things I think we need to be talking about more, is how do we stand on freedom and in our freedom, and how do we protect our rights? So first, I have stop asking for your right to be free. It is your birthright. You don't have to ask for it. It is your birthright. Just the fact that you were born here, you're free. Gain a deep understanding of natural law. I don't know how to stress this enough. You really need to understand natural law. You need to understand the universal laws that govern this realm. You need to understand the Hermetic principles. These are things that you need to study and get a deep, I should say, understanding, not even understanding of it. This will help you be able to stand firm and stand in courage when you have that well-rounded, full understanding. So do not seek solutions to your problems from the same systems that created them. I know to some of you that are in this movement, that's like a duh, but a lot of people, especially that are just waking up, they're trying to find the solutions to the problems that we have, huge problems, within the exact same systems, using the exact same energies that created the problems. And we can't do that. That won't work. It'll just lead to more of the same problems. They might have a little different face to them. They might be painted a little with different colors, different brush strokes, but you're going to have the same type of problems if you're using that same system and if you're still holding up false authority. Build yourself up. Build yourself up so that you have that courage, so that you're ready to take accountability and responsibility for your life, that you're ready to be honest with yourself and about the world around you. Then, once you build yourself up, and not too perfect, none of us are perfect, but, build yourself so you feel strong, and then begin to build your community up around you. So again, that starts with taking personal responsibility and accountability for your life. And we got to stop the looking for a savior all the time. Looking for, oh no, that's going to come and save us. Oh no, if we just vote for this person, they'll save it. No one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Just like we created this situation by going along with a whole bunch of nonsense and being totally immoral and burying ourselves in lies and burying ourselves in greed and immorality, we've got to dig ourselves out. It's on us. We are our saviors. Educate others on the principles of natural law and right versus wrong. Embrace morality and truth at all costs. That's another really important one. Because that, moral relativism can get you in so much trouble when all of a sudden your morals just depend on the situation and depends on if it's going to make your life easier or harder. We have to look at it objectively. Is this right or is this wrong? Is this immoral or is it moral? Which will not change based on the situation. And then lastly, become the light and the love that you wish to see in the world. Become that. Embody that. That's one of the strongest things you can do, is to just be that, because that type of energy radiates. I mean, it's seriously, that can change someone's whole viewpoint on something. The energy that you radiate, the light and love they see exuding from you, the love that they see in the actions that you take, the courage they see in the actions that you take, the example you set. Embody what you want to see in others. Embody what you want to see around you. You can't be up to all types of no good all the time, but then want everybody else to be about love and light. And again, this is not about being perfect at all, because none of us are. But it's about being the best version we can and continually working on ourselves. So our freedom is inextricably tied to morality and our ability to accept truth. You cannot break that bond. They're tied together. And this goes right into the law of freedom. Again, this is courtesy of Mark Passio. And what the law of freedom is freedom and morality are directly proportional. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. That's the relationship. That's that entanglement. You cannot have one go up without the other, and vice versa. So true freedom can never exist in a society that embraces moral relativism, what I just talked about. The idea that there is no inherent or objective difference between right and wrong. So you can just make up whatever you want. You can decide on a whim what's right today, what's wrong today, what works for me. That will never work. You will never find the freedom that you're searching for. So we must give up this illusion of authority. No man has the right to rule over another. If God gives you rights, no man and no government can take them away from you. That's a quote by Roy Moore. No man and no government can take them away from you. We have to really remember that. It will be up to each individual to embrace their sovereignty and stop bowing down. Only then can we experience true freedom. And I am going to close the presentation out again with an affirmation. And this is Live in Truth. I thought that was really appropriate based on what we were talking about today. And then after I finish the affirmation, I'll take any questions or comments that anyone may have. But you can say this along with me or just, kind of listen silently with me or whatever you want to do. But Live in Truth affirmation. Today, I reject the status quo. I embrace all that makes me unique. I will live outside of superficial labels. I recognize that I am more than I have allowed myself to be. I am not just a consumer. I am a creator. I am not just a follower. I am a leader. I am not just a body. I am sacred, spiritual energy. I will no longer pretend to fit in with situations, people, and belief systems that do not resonate with truth. I trust the universe and appreciate the beauty of the place I share in it. I embrace my inherent divinity, and I will live in truth unapologetically. And so it is. So I hope you all really enjoyed that presentation. Did anyone have any questions, comments, feedback?
Yes.
Hey.
Hello, friend. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Excellent show today.
Thank
Definitely
you.
like the presentation. I was, before this came on, I was watching one of the recent videos Corey put out, from the network. When I say Corey, I'm talking about the guy you interviewed not too long ago.
Yes.
Where he put 3 examples of how we're not really free.
Right.
After doing some explanation. You saw that one?
Yes.
Nice. And I was just thinking about the attitude of the black officer who was saying he was one of the arresting officers or detaining officers, whatever, with the lemonade stand. The black dude toward the end of that video. And he was asked by the guy holding the camera, he said, if there was an order given to, go and arrest people based on segregation laws, because that really happened in this country, would you go enforce those? And at first he tried to dodge the question. He said, oh, well, I wouldn't have been hired back then. I wouldn't have been a police officer back then. But then he was straight up with him.
Dodging the question.
Yeah. No, but then he was straight up with him, and it's disgusting, but I almost admire his level of honesty.
Yeah.
And he said, but if I was, then I would have. Meaning if I was a police officer back then I would have arrested other black people based solely on the fact that they were black and they weren't supposed to be uppity, if you will, whatever the segregation unjust situation would be. If I was an officer, if I had this uniform on and I was getting paid by daddy government to follow those orders and I was given those orders, then I would make sure that I followed those orders no matter what. Yeah. And it just shows, it's like, and this is, look, 10-cent lemonade, right? I don't know if everybody else saw this video or not, but basically this family, it looked like a couple of them looked related, were out selling lemonade at a little stand for 10 cents, and they were doing it on purpose. They knew they were going to get in trouble or whatever with the law, but they were doing it to spread awareness that this is not the land of the free, this is not the home of the brave, this is the land of the enslaved and the home of the cowardice. Because
and the order follower.
Boom. Because because of the order followers.
Yeah, because of the order followers.
Yep.
All this is courtesy of the order followers.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. All of the biggest mass murders and mass rapes and all of the mass chaos that happens at the hands of order followers, not order givers. Order givers are evil and they're bad, and they're not excused, but they are not the ones out here doing the things with their hands. If the orders were not followed, then the mass murders would not happen. Then the wars would not happen.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. And this goes back way, way, way back when all we had was knives and spears and straight edges. Right? But so this, I was watching the video and he says, if I was, then I would have enforced it. And it really showed me just how far the indoctrination can go when it comes to what you talked about at the end there, moral relativism and the law of freedom.
Yes.
And I think the biggest reason why many of us are unhappy is because of our habitual lying that we do, our habitual dishonesty.
Yes.
As a human family and as a human family on the Western Hemisphere, with all of our contracts, all of our straw man situation, all of our bureaucracy, and all of our political and mainstream media, as well as a lot of not mainstream media at this point, content that goes out. There's so many lies. There's, millions and millions of lies a month. I'll try and estimate. And that's probably a low number, right?
Probably, unfortunately.
If we take everybody into consideration, all of this habitual lying has karmic consequences and carries natural law consequences.
Yes.
And our inability to really discern how much needs to be put back in order when it comes to being impeccable with our word and when it comes to being truthful and aligning ourselves with moral behavior with our mouth.
Yes.
That's why we're so unhappy as a human family.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first things that would have to change if we're going to see real advancement, in my opinion.
I agree. It's because it's almost to now where you can almost really call it an addiction. People are addicted to lying, especially to themselves.
Above all else.
I think a lot of people would not even be able to really function if they couldn't lie to themselves like all throughout the day.
Wow. That's sad, but that hits.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not until we start looking at those hard truths, because it might, when you get real addicted to lying, it will cause you, probably a lot of people will probably have a mini breakdown if they stopped, but at least that would be a starting point. You could start from there. You could start with the pain that you're going to go through when you stop lying to yourself. That is a starting point. Now you have somewhere you can start from to start embracing truth, to start healing, to start growing. But if you keep up with the lying, you don't even have a starting point. You can't get to the bottom of behavior because you're lying to yourself about them.
Right. You need to align with.
Right.
Because all you have, you've basically sacrificed your gut instinct for your conformity instinct, your fit in
Yes,
instinct.
absolutely. Yep. It's unfortunate. So that's why I definitely wanted to include this as part of the series, because I know it probably sounded like super basic, like, well, yeah, duh, lying and stealing is wrong. But that's what I said, when you really get into it and you really look at the extent to which lying and stealing is going on around us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it should make you take a step back. It really should. Because like you said, that we can't get anywhere with the amount of lying that everyone's doing right now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right on. Yeah, this is Tensi,
Hey,
Soul's
love.
World. Hey, loves. I just wanted to chime in because it really made me think of reflecting on starting with kind of like the reckoning, and realizing how often there is this deception and self-deception that goes on, especially with social media. I mean, on Instagram, what we put out is like smiles and everything is cherry and gray. You feel me? The baby's all happy all the time. And that's fine to keep personal life personal, but at the same time, there's that disconnect to where actually admitting and seeing that, okay, number one thing that we don't even really acknowledge is that one of the stress responses that tends to happen is this fawning of like kind of wanting to kind of fit in. So I'm going to instead, either compliment or praise this thing, or just trying to be really welcoming to it, just as a protective mechanism. We know about like fight and flight and freeze, but fawn is another one that doesn't often get addressed. And we're all kind of dealing with this chronic stress from all of the micro mishaps in life and all the things that we're made to juggle and be aware of. That I think it's important that you had this topic and you brought up that lying piece and the self-lying. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was, I didn't even think of that too with the fawning. That is it is a huge issue right now, especially the fawning over these celebrities and these politicians and stuff, all this. It's like you see them doing horrible things and you're still doing it. You're still fawning all over them.
Yes, especially when it's wrong. Something it's wrong, but not having the courage to speak up against it, and just kind of wanting to get along to get by,
Right. Yeah.
I feel like I've also gotten myself trapped in that a few times, and it definitely hurts. It hurts everybody.
Yep. There's no winner. Unfortunately, there's no winner in that situation. So yeah, no, I get exactly what you mean. So did anyone else have any comments, anything? No? Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me this evening and taking the time to listen to my podcast. Again, visit the Firm Life Daily website at affirmlifedaily.com for more information, resources, and ways to connect. Please follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily. Subscribe on YouTube at Affirm Life Daily. Again, as always, love, light, and gratitude to infinity for all of you. Everyone have a really great evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.